Good morning, everyone. Great to see you here. I hope you feel okay, even we had the party last night. My name is Henri Kerola. I work for Vaadin, the company behind the Vaadin Framework. And today I am going to give an introduction tutorial about the Vaadin Framework. So, how many of you actually have used Vaadin already? So, a few? That's great. So, what is Vaadin? Vaadin is actually a Finnish word which means a female reindeer. We are a Finnish company, so that's the reason that we wanted to choose a name that means something in Finland. But today we are not going to talk about animals. We are talking about the framework, the Vaadin Framework. And as you can see, the logo of the framework is actually can be seen as the head of a reindeer. So, Vaadin is a framework for building rich internet applications. It's a Java framework. And the key idea behind the framework is that you only need to use the Java API to build the application, and the framework hides the HTML and other stuff behind the Java API, so you don't really need to know the browser stuff if you don't want. And a bit history. Vaadin is actually over 10 years old framework. The first lines of Vaadin were written in 2001. It was released as open source in 2002. In 2005, we introduced the Ajax rendering. And in 2008, we rewrote the whole client-side rendering engine with GWT, the Google Web Toolkit. Do you know what Google Web Toolkit is? Who knows? Everyone? Almost. So the idea behind the Google Web Toolkit is that you can write the client-side code with Java, and then there is a compiler that compiles that Java code into JavaScript. So you can use your Java tools to write the client-side code, and Vaadin uses it in the client side. We renamed the framework to Vaadin in 2009, and 2010 we introduced add-on support for Vaadin. And Vaadin is a licensed under the Apache license, so that's great. And then the key ideas behind the framework. First, Vaadin provides a nice set of rich components. First, UI components. Vaadin provides a nice set of core components, and this is a screenshot of a Vaadin sampler that can be found from our website at demo.vaadin.com. It basically shows all the core components Vaadin contains, and also code examples, how to use those components. So that's the place to go if you think you need a component in Vaadin. We also provide support for building mobile applications for tablets and mobile phones. So as you can see, these applications look like native iOS applications, but actually these applications are written in Java with Vaadin, and they are actually running in browser. And as you can see, it feels like a native iOS application pretty much. And we also have add-ons. So if you cannot find the component you need from Vaadin core, then you can go to the Vaadin directory that's available in our website. And there is lots of add-ons available for Vaadin. I think that currently there is 285 add-ons available for Vaadin. And if you find an add-on that might be suitable for your needs, then you can find screenshots, code examples of the add-on, and you can also download it from the website, of course. There is also the Maven dependency available, so you can just copy-paste the dependency to your Maven project. We also provide built-in themes in Vaadin. We have different themes available. We also have a theme editor that you can choose the base colors for your theme, and then you can generate a jar file and put that theme into your Vaadin project, so you can easily create a theme that is a bit customized for your needs. And if you want to create more customized theme, then you can just use CSS to customize the theme the way you like. We also have data source components for binding the UI components to data source. And there are three concepts behind the data binding in Vaadin. We have the container, which can be think as a SQL table. Then we have an item that is a row inside the table. And then we have a property, and the property is a cell in the item in the row. So for example, you can bind a text field to a property. The property has a value and a type, so for example, string. And for table, you set a container for that contains all the data. And we have different kind of container data source implementations available. Some are part of the core, some are available in Vaadin directory as add-on. Also, you can actually use Vaadin to build applications where you combine the server-side programming model and the client-side programming model. So when we think the layers of web application, you need to implement at least 4 layers. You need to implement the backend, where is the business logic, and for example, database. You need to implement the web server layer, where you have that's the entry point for your UI or contains the UI code. Then you need to implement the communication between the Java, between the client side and server side, and then you need to implement the client side with JavaScript. In case of GWT, you need to implement these 4 layers, but on the client side, you can use Java, and you can also use JavaScript if you want. But in case of Vaadin, with Vaadin server-side programming model, you only need to implement 2 of these layers. You implement the backend, and you write the UI code in the web server. So you don't need to implement the communication or the client-side code if you don't want. So as you can see, you don't need to write much code to create an application with Vaadin. And when we think normal JavaScript UI frameworks, you still need to implement 4 layers. You are just using in the client side the JavaScript framework. So we are actually, Vaadin 6 is the current stable version of Vaadin, but Vaadin 7 is the next major version of Vaadin, and it's currently in beta phase. I think the beta 6 is the newest version of Vaadin 7, and the Vaadin 7 will include the GWT as part of the Vaadin framework. So in Vaadin 6, we use GWT as a rendering engine on the client side, but it's still an external dependency from Vaadin's point of view. So you need those GWT jar files from GWT if you want to do some client-side stuff with Vaadin. But in Vaadin 7, we will actually include the GWT as part of the Vaadin, so you don't need any more external GWT dependencies. And in fact, if you have a GWT project, you can actually use the Vaadin GWT jar files in your project. And in future, the Vaadin GWT version might provide some useful stuff what's not available in the normal GWT. And we also our version of GWT is fully compatible with the GWT, so you can exchange those. And the idea behind of combining the server-side and client-side programming models is that the server-side programming model to build the UI on the server side is very fast and productive, but in some cases you may need a better control for your UI. So in that case you can actually choose the hybrid model and use only client side to implement your UI code. So you can choose what you want. And let's take a look to the architecture of a typical Vaadin application. So again, we have the backend and the UI on the web server, and this is the normal situation for the Vaadin application. The UI uses components. You can use the core components. You can use the add-ons and your own custom components, and you can run the Vaadin application as a servlet or as a portlet. And for these components, there are these client-side widget implementation available. But if you only do the server-side Vaadin coding, then you don't need really actually worry about these widgets because Vaadin is handling this for you. And then there is of course the theme. You can use the core themes, or you can extend a core theme to customize it. But let's say that you have built an application with Vaadin, but you have a requirement that there is a use case that you need an offline support for some small use case. Of course, if you need to build an application that must be totally support offline mode, in that case, you don't want to do it on the server side because it won't work. But if you have a small use case where you need to use offline mode, for example, then you can actually implement the UI, that part of UI in the client side also. So you can use the Google Web Toolkit to implement this stateless UI, in your hybrid Vaadin application. And then you, of course, have the service that communicates with this client-side UI code. The idea behind the Vaadin is that we build everything on top of Java. And you can run your Vaadin application as a servlet, as a portlet, and also in most of the cloud which are available. We also support all the normal desktop browsers, and we also have the support for iOS and Android mobile browsers. And there is a wide range of supported servers and portals and stuff like that. And the important thing behind the Vaadin is that you don't actually need any browser plugin, or you don't need to install anything to run the Vaadin application. So from browser's point of view, it's just JavaScript which is running on the browser. We also support different IDEs, and of course you can use the Maven or Ant. And there is also a Spring Brew plugin for Vaadin available, and other tools are also available. We also have a visual editor available, so if you want to build your UI so that you use this visual editor, it's possible. You don't need to code it if you don't want. And how, okay, so let's say that you want to build an application with Vaadin, so how to get started? You can download the Vaadin from our website, of course. There is the download section, or you can use the Maven. We have some archetypes available that generate the project skeleton for you. Or you can use Eclipse plugin that can be downloaded from Eclipse Marketplace. Eclipse plugin can be used, for example, to generate the project skeleton for you, and you have actually a working Vaadin application after that. If you want to test Vaadin 7 with the Eclipse plugin, you need to actually download an experimental version of the plugin, because Vaadin 7 is not yet stable. But when Vaadin 7 is stable, then you can of course use the version from the Eclipse Marketplace. And next, I am actually going to show how to build a Vaadin application from scratch. So let's say that I have this database table that contains member information, and for every member there is first name, last name, and email address. And let's say that I need to build a member register UI that uses this database. So the UI I am going to build will look like as this. So this is a Vaadin application. It contains a table, and you can right-click a row. You can choose to edit the person or to delete it, and also the email addresses in the table are actually clickable links, so you can start your email application by clicking the email address, and there is also that add new button that will create a new person to the register. If you click delete from the context menu in the table, you will see this confirmation dialog. And if you press yes, it will remove from the database. And if you press edit from the context menu or click add new button, you will get this view for editing the selected person or creating a new person. And now I am going to show how I will build this application from scratch. So let's see. Okay, I have here Eclipse IDE. I have installed Tomcat and also the Vaadin Eclipse plugin. And first step is to create a new Vaadin project with the Eclipse plugin. Okay, so we can just say new, and we can filter Vaadin. A new Vaadin project, like this. Let's give a name for the project. Let's call it member register. And let's choose the Vaadin version. I want to use the beta 6. So we are going to use Vaadin 7 here. And now I can just click finish, and it generates the project skeleton for me. Okay, and now there should be a working project available in the workspace. This uses Ivy to download the needed Vaadin dependencies, and here we have actually a generated Vaadin UI that contains one label. And now we can actually try to run this application, and hopefully it works. So we can choose from here a debug as on server. Let's see if it works. And yes, now we have actually working Vaadin application. It's very simple, but it works. So let's copy the address to the browser. Okay, so to build a Vaadin application with Vaadin 7, you need to extend the UI class. So the UI class is the class which represents the browser window in this case, though. So this is the UI. So how we start to build this Vaadin application? So we saw from the screenshot that there are actually two views. There is one view that contains the table, and another view that is for editing the selected person or creating a new person. And then we have the UI that holds of those two views and contains the member register label. So let's create first the containing UI. So let's add a vertical layout here. Bit slow. Not vertical. Vertical layout. Let's call it layout, new vertical layout. And let's give a size for it. Set size full means that it takes all the space on both directions. And we set this layout as the content for this UI by saying this. And let's first add the label, the header label, So label, header, new. Let's add it to the layout. Okay, now we should have this label. Yes, member register, and we can. The default theme in the Vaadin is the theme called reindeer, and there is actually some style names available that you can use to customize the look and feel a bit. So I can actually say that like this. Label. So better. And now we will need the area for those views. So we need to add a layout here that will be the holder for those views. So let's add a horizontal layout, for example. Let's call it content. And let's add it to the. We also want that the content takes all the space available. Set size full. Content. Now we have the basic structure for the application, and now we can actually start to implement those views. But first, we need a view handler that takes care of showing the correct view. So Vaadin 7 contains a tool called Navigator. That can be used to show the current view and navigating between the views. So let's add a navigator here. New navigator. And it wants to know what the UI it belongs to, and also the content where it shows the visible view. And now we can create a view and register it as a view for the navigator. So let's create a new class. And let's first create the view that contains the table and the add button. So let's call it member list view. We can extend the custom component, which is basically a composite for hiding the implementation details. And we need to implement a view interface from Vaadin. Okay, and we can now register this view for the navigator by saying add view. We need to give a name for the view, and we want that this view is the default view. So, and the name of the default view is actually just an empty string. So let's use that one, and then register the view for member list view like this. Okay, and we want that when the application opens, it navigates to the default view. So we want to say for the navigator that navigate. Okay, and now we can start to implementing our member list view. So there is the enter method, which is called every time the user opens the view. But we can just construct the UI in the constructor, and in this case, it will contain, of course, a layout, because there is the table and a button, so we need a layout to show those components. So let's create again a vertical layout. So here we say that this is the layout we want to render for this custom component, and we also want that it's again takes the all space available. And now we can create a table and add it to the layout. Table. And the table takes all the space also. And let's add it to the layout. Okay. And we also have that add new button at the bottom of the view, so let's also create that one. Add new, and then the click listener. So when the user clicks the button, this listener will be called. And let's see if we can actually see something now in the browser. Okay. We have some sizing problems, but we have something visible already. So let's fix first. We have to say also the custom component itself that it takes all the space which is available. Okay, let's see. Okay, do you know how to fix this problem? There is some Vaadin users. I think this is quite common. Yeah, but how to fix it? What to call in the Vaadin code? Yeah, there is set expandration. So this is the way to fix it. So we can say we need to actually do it in the two places. We need first to do it here in the UI. So we want to say that this for the layout that the content takes all the space like this, and we need to do the same thing also for the table here inside the member list view. So layout set and now it should look correct. Okay, so now we have big table and the add button, but now we could try to add content to the table. So I have actually some code I am going to copy paste. I not want to write it. So here in the UI, I'm going to use a Vaadin container called SQL container that can be used to fetch data from the SQL table. So here it connects to MySQL, and it's going to fetch data from database table called person, and the name of the database is person, and as you can see, I have correct configuration for production here. And we still need to actually add a MySQL connector as dependency to the project, so I'll just add it here to the Ivy configuration of the project. And now we actually, so this will create the container for us. And we actually want that we have only one container per UI. So I am actually going to call creating the container here is create container, and now I'm actually going to pass it to the member list view like this. We need constructor, and now I can actually try to set it to the table. But actually, I am going to create a new class for the table because the table will contain quite much method calls, so we can create a new table, a new class extending table. So let's call it members table, and it will extend table. And here it will take the containers. And here we can say that set container data source is the container. Like this. And we still need to replace the table here with our new members table and then pass the container there. Okay, so now we actually should see some content in the table. Let's see. Okay, so now it's actually fetching data from our database, and as you can see, there is actually lazy loading automatically. So it's only fetching a small part of the data from the database. So there is almost 1,000 rows, so it would be a bit slow if it fetches all the rows. So you can get the lazy loading table automatically. And now we want to hide this ID column from here. We don't want to see it. We can say here in the members table, we can set the visible columns. Set visible columns, new string. So here we can define the columns and the order of the columns we want to be visible for the table. So we want to see the first name, last name, and email. Okay. Okay, now it's correct. The ID is gone. Next step would be to create another view. That's the view for editing a person or adding a new person. So we can create a new class for that. Again, let's call it member view. Again, we are going to extend custom component and implement the view. And now we can again register this as a view for the application in here. Okay, I want to move this actually. Okay, so register the view. So we actually do the same thing as for the member list view. And we also want to pass the container to this view. So let's create a constructor for that. But now we want to give a different identifier for the view. So let's call this for example member, like this. and here. And the member view will contain 3 fields, text fields for first name, for last name, and for email. And it will also contain the buttons for saving the person data to the database, for canceling the edit, and for navigating back to the list view. So we can now try to we can now implement these 3 UI components here. So let's create this text field. First name field, then last name field and email field. So these are the text fields, and then we can add them to the view. We need again a vertical layout. And we can just add these 3 fields to the layout by saying layout.add component first name field, then last name field, and the email. Okay, now we have 3 fields. We still need the buttons. So let's create a layout for those buttons. So let's create a horizontal layout. Buttons layout is new. Horizontal layout. And now we can just new button save. And then the click listener, new, a click listener, some imports, okay. And then we can just use copy paste this for the other buttons. We need the cancel button, cancel, and also the close, for example, for going back to the previous view. Okay, and we still actually need to add the buttons layout to the layout, so it will be visible. And now we have the member view, but there is not yet way to open the member view. So we want to say in the member list view, in the add new button, that we want to navigate to this view. So we can say get UI, get navigator, and then we can say where we want to navigate. So we can say navigate to, and now we need to know the name of the view, and it was member. So I have to say member here. But in fact, we are going to use this view for 2 use cases. The first one is adding a new person, and the second one is editing an existing person. So we need to pass information whether we are creating a new or editing an existing one. So in case of new, we can just do this, and the stuff after the slash is actually provided as a parameter for the view. So if we go back to the here, and this is the method, the enter method will be called when the view is opened. So let's see if we get the correct parameter information here by saying notification show event get parameters. Let's see what happens. Null pointer. Member view. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's correct. I have to initialize these fields also. Is new. I was testing you, but nobody said nothing. Okay. Now and we can also give captions for these fields. So actually, first name, last name, email. Okay, now it should work. Okay, we have this view, and now if we press the Add New button here, we should see a yes. So this is the member view, and here is the parameter. And if we add something else here, okay, not this one, but yes, we get the information as a parameter. And okay, so now we can add the logic for adding a new person. We already have the fields, so we need some data binding stuff and some stuff for creating the row to database. So let's see. So here in the enter method, yes?
For example, if you want to show at which position would the label of the field be displayed, how we can change, for example, that thing? Because now you're just putting a string to the constructor and that is just...
You mean the caption of... Yeah, in Vaadin it's actually... the layout is deciding how to render the caption.
Layout of what? The global layout of the
so in this case here, I am using a vertical layout. So the vertical layout decides how to render the caption for the elements it contains. So actually, if I change this vertical layout to form layout,
For example, I would like to show email right.
yeah, exactly. You will see it very soon.
But not all of them, only email.
Then you actually need to wrap the email layout inside its own form layout in this case. So basically the layout decides how to render the caption of the field. Of course, you can use a label to emulate the caption. So you put the label and then the field without the caption to the horizontal layout, for example. Okay. So yeah, now we want to do some data binding, and that will happen here in the enter method. So we want to compare if the parameter is new, equals to and what we want to do here, we want actually create an item. Item is one concept in data binding in Vaadin. So what we want to do is we add a new, we add to the container, and actually I need access to the container, so we need to move this as a field. So now I can say container add item, and the add item returns the item ID, so we can get the item based on that item ID. So item is get item. Okay, now we have item, and now we can actually use this item to bind it to the text fields we created. And for that binding, we can use a component called, not component, but maybe tool called field group. Yes?
The result of the item was created?
It will add a temporary row to the container, to the table in this case. So you can think that all those rows in the container in the table are items.
But it was only interesting for me because when you use method and item operator, I was expected to get item.
Yeah.
Get item.
Yeah, that's correct.
Redundant,
Yeah, it's correct. In this case, it actually returns the item ID. There is ID for item in Vaadin, so yeah, that's true.
Okay, it just works as the same.
Yeah, yeah. Field group is new. Field group. And we can bind this field group to this item we got from the. We have to initialize it. Yeah, it might be null. And then we can say for this field group that bind this, the members of this field group and item to this UI class that contains 3 text fields. And what there basically happens that this bit member fields go through the fields here in this class and tries to find corresponding UI fields for the properties in the item. So we need to annotate these 3 fields with the property ID annotation to tell that I want to bind this first name field to the first name property in the item. Like this. Another option is that I actually rename the field so that its name is the same as the property. So this works also. And so after that, the Vaadin data binding should bind the fields in the UI to the data source automatically. Yeah. Yeah, this is the new way because we wanted to separate the layouting and the binding.
Can I have a more general question? I'm curious, how popular is Vaadin? Is there any business implementations, business exploiters?
Yeah, I think that Vaadin is nowadays used all over the world.
Right, in comparison to GWT, how it's what is the more popular?
Well, I think that GWT is more popular, but Vaadin is a bit different framework compared to GWT because we are server-side framework, and GWT is more client-side stuff. Of course, you can build similar kind of applications, but we are server-side framework more.
Is there, some well-known projects?
We have some projects listed on our web page. So if you go there, and there is the who is using Vaadin web page, so you can find some references from there. But usually applications created with Vaadin are for internal use or that kind of application that we cannot tell that somebody is using the application. But you can find from our website some information of projects that use Vaadin.
Okay, but Apache license, as you said, right, allows the business to take Vaadin and prepare its own.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's see if the data binding actually works. So let's go to the browser. Let's go here. And now we see these null values there, and it actually tells that it's working. By default, the text fields work so that if the value coming from the data source is null, it shows the string null, which is not so good. So we want to change it. So we can say for the text fields here, set null presentation is an empty string, and the same for the last name. Like this, and the same for the email. Okay, so the data binding is now working. The next step would be actually add functionality for the save and cancel button in here. And in the case of save, we just want to say for the, actually we need a reference to the field group also. So let's move it as a field to the class. So we just, in case of cancel, we say field group commit. That will commit the changes from the text field to the item. There is some exceptions I need to handle, but also we need to save the changes to the. So if we want to commit the changes to the database, we need to also say for the container that commit changes to the backend. This will actually save the data to SQL. Okay. Okay, now this should save the changes to the database. We say commit for the field group and commit for the container. And in case of cancel, we can just say for the field group that discard the changes, and this should be enough. And in case of close, we want to navigate back to the list view. So we can just say that get UI, get navigator, navigate to the view with the empty string, which is the list view. And now we should have a fully functional editing view. Let's see if it works. So let's go back to the browser. Let's go to the previous view. As you can see, the navigator handles the URI fragments for us, so the back and forward buttons are also working automatically. So let's see if add new works. So let's try to add a Okay, so let's press save, and I think it works. So let's go back and see if it's actually part of the table here. So let's scroll down. It should be the last item here, and here it actually is an item representing me. So it looks like the saving to the database is actually working. The next step is to add the context menu, so we can edit and delete items. Adding a context menu to Vaadin table is easy. We can just, yes?
I have a question. Is it a general way to see, I would like to some method in Navigator which is navigate back. Is it possible to, or should I use some kind of parameter to pass to the view where to pass name of the view from I'm starting?
I think that there is currently no way to say for the navigator that navigate back. But I hope we will improve the navigator, so maybe in the future, so it's still.
So now you are showing a one parameter.
Mm.
Is it a simple way to pass more complex parameters?
You can. There is no way to pass a object if you mean that.
And what about 2 or 3 parameters?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you just separate, but you need to parse the.
With slashes.
Yeah, yeah. So next view thing is to add a context menu to the table. So let's go here, and here we can add an action handler for the table. So this handler, the getActions method will be called for every row when the row is rendered, so we can actually return a different context menu for each row if we want. But in this case, we are always returning the same context menu for each row, so we can just return a same action array for every item. So we can do like this, and just action edit and new action delete, like this. And when user opens the context menu and presses the edit or delete button, then we get the information of it to here. Handle action, so we actually want to move this as a constant. Let's call it edit action. This one is delete action. Okay, so now we have those rows in the context menu, and here we can just compare what is the action. So we can see if it's edit action. We will do something, and in the case of it's delete, we do something else. And in the case of edit, we just want to go to the member view. So we say for the get UI, get navigator, navigate to, and again member. And in this case, we actually want to. The target is the ID, the item ID of the row. We want to pass it to the view, so we know that what is the member we want to edit. So like this. And now we need to implement some logic to member view to be able to edit an existing. So member, so here we need to add an else. And we are actually going to parse a long value from the event get like this, and then we create item is container get item row ID So this way we can actually get the correct row from the container based on the ID. We are now now the editing should actually work. So let's see. So let's try to edit the first one. Yeah, the context menu is working. So let's try to edit the first one. Edit. It opens the correct view, and as we can see, there is the correct data in the fields. So if I do something like this, and if I press cancel, it should just reset the fields. It works. But if I do the same editing and I press save, now the data should be in the database. And let's go back to the previous view. And as we can see, data binding works. And we can also go to see if it's also in the database here. So I have it's here. Let's refresh. And there it is. So editing, the data binding is working so that it actually goes to the database. So now we have the editing, and adding a person works. So the next step would be to implement the delete. And as you saw in the screenshot, there is a confirmation dialog asking that, are you sure if you want to delete the person? So we need to create that dialog. Okay, so let's create a class for that. Again, let's call it delete confirmation dialog, and it's need to extend window class from Vaadin 7. And here we can put some UI components here. Let's set caption for the dialog. So let's call it confirmation, and then we can add a label. Do you want to delete the person, for example? And then we need the buttons for yes and no. So let's create a horizontal layout for those. New button again. New button. Yes. And then the click listener. New. And also for no. Okay. And in both cases, when user presses the yes or no button, we want to remove this window from the UI. So what we are going to say in both click listener is that get UI remove window, and in this case is this class. And the same here, and this is actually enough for no. But in the case of yes, we need access to the container, so we can say delete the person from the database. So we need actually access to the container again. So we can just pass it as a constructor argument, and here we are going to say container, and we also need the information of the person, the item we are deleting, so we need also that one. So we can pass the item ID also as a parameter. So now we can container remove item ID, okay, and then final, and final, not that one, final, and final, okay, and okay, and then now the item will be removed from the container, but we still need to commit this change to the database. So we need to say also container commit, and again some exceptions, and I don't need to this one here. Okay, so now it actually should work. Let's see.
We shouldn't register button layouts.
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, so we can just say add component. Yes, good, thanks. Okay, let's see. Delete. Okay, there is a problem that we are not adding the window to the application, so we need to go to the members table, and here we can just say get UI add window new delete confirmation dialog, and then the container and the item ID is the target. Okay, and then okay, let's see. Now it should let's see. Yeah, it's still loading the changes. Okay. Delete. Okay. Now we see the confirmation dialog, but it's not very well positioned. And also the problem is that we can access the stuff behind the dialog. That's not very good. So let's do so that we say for the yes, exactly. We can say set modal true, and also if you want that we are not able to resize the window, we can say set resizable false. Okay, now it should be better. The set modal will also center the window, so it should be okay now. Okay, so if I press no, nothing happens. Good. And let's see if delete works. Now it should remove the first row if it works. And yes, it's working. So now we actually have a working confirmation dialog. And of course we can do some styling if we want. For example, some space between the buttons. We can just say here in the buttons layout that set spacing true. And for example, for the whole window, maybe we want some space around the table and around the member register label, so we can say here for this layout set margin true. Now it should be a bit better. Let's see. Yes, now we have some space here, and we have actually one thing still missing from the application. It's actually that if you remember, these email addresses were clickable in the screenshot. So we want to add instead of showing this string, we want to show a link that you can easily open your email application to send an email, and it's easy to add that functionality. So let's go back to the members table. So we can add a generated column to the table, and basically these generated columns are generated when the table is rendered. But you can also shadow the existing column in the table. So if I say that its ID is the same as the real column in the table, the real property, so I can actually, instead of showing the real property, I show the generated column. So it's easy to shadow them. So in this case, we want to shadow the email property. So first we need the email address from the container. Email is get property. So we get the data based on the item ID and the column ID, which are arguments for this generate cell callback, and then we just get the value from it, and just let's cast it to string. We know it's string. So now we should have the email address in the email a variable, and then if in that case if it's an empty column, we don't want to show anything. So we can say that if email null or email equals empty, we just return null, which means that the generated cell will be empty. But otherwise, we will just return a new component called link, which is a normal HTML link, and it takes the text which will be email, and then the address it's pointing to, and in this case it will be an external resource, and the URL is mail to and the email address. Okay, let's see if it works. Loading. Okay. Exception. Maybe I have to restart the server. Or it's still loading. Yeah. Okay, let's restart the server. Okay, maybe now. Okay, now we have the generated columns. This is empty, and this is something I have already clicked. So let's see if it's working. Okay, it's opening my email, but yeah. So basically now we have generated columns, and there is basically now we have all the functionality I showed you in the screenshots. We can edit the members. We can add new, and this is actually if I don't fill any information here, this will actually say that I have set in the here in the, yeah, very nice. But it's working, it's saying that it should not be null, so basically it's able to validate that actually that I'm defined that null is not allowed. And yeah, so we have all the functionality I have shown. I still want to show you how to theme a Vaadin application, how to create your custom theme. It's actually very easy. So let's go back to the project. And let's use the Vaadin plugin to create a theme for us. We can choose new Vaadin theme. And we select the project we want to create it and the name of the theme. I'll just actually copy paste this from here. Okay. So what happened here was that it generated under the web content folder called Vaadin. And under the Vaadin folder there is folder themes, and then there is the actual theme folder, and the name of the theme is the name of the folder, and then there is one styles CSS file. So it's very, very simple. And now I can actually, still I need to define here that I want to actually use my own theme. So I annotate the UI class with the theme annotation like this. And then the name of the folder, the name of the theme. And yes?
The theme can be annotated just to the element, or you can assign it to all application or specific user?
It's for the whole application, but I think that you can override something from the Vaadin classes that if you want a different theme for different users, so it should be also possible. So now there is not any change. Actually, there is. I think it's old stuff. Yeah. So yeah, not visual change. And actually, what happens here in styles CSS is that we are extending the reindeer theme. We could also extend the Runo, which is another built-in theme in Vaadin. And if I go back to the browser, we should see different theme. Yeah. So as you can see, it's actually very easy to change the theme, have a different look and feel. So you can use the reindeer as an extension point for your theme or the Runo. And if you want to create totally new theme from scratch, then you want to extend the base theme so that provides some. As you can see, it just provides some stuff to make it, to build the theme from scratch, but this is not really meant to use like this. So in this case, I'm just going to extend the array. There is no code completion, of course. And now we can easily start to do some CSS. And just for an example, I'll do something very simple CSS stuff. So we can say we label, and we can see let's see, okay. So we can see the style name here with the inspection tool. So let's say that I want to style this label, change the color. I can see the style names here, v label, h1. So I can say, for example, v label dot, what was it, h1, like this. And then we can just change the color. So let's say color red. And let's see if it works. Yes, so as you can, it's easy to customize the look and feel of your application with CSS. And yeah, I think there should be a way to do it also in Vaadin 7, but I don't know what way is. But I think that there is a way to do it, but I don't know what it is. Yeah, so that was the theming. So as you can see, it's easy, and it's important to know that actually you don't define the sizes of the components in theme. You do the sizing stuff in your Java code, because as you have seen, we have these set size full stuff, for example, here. So you are not going to use CSS to define the sizing of components. You just use CSS to define the look and feel of your components and your application. Do you have any questions of this application? Yes?
You showed us an example with the SQL database.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have some other container types to access NoSQL database, for example?
I don't think that we have a NoSQL container available, but we have, for example, a JPA container available that you can use with Hibernate and Eclipse Link, for example. But that's actually a commercial add-on, so you need to pay if you want to use it in commercial product. Can you repeat? Now I don't understand.
Is it possible to support comment notification in Vaadin?
Sorry, I don't understand what you mean. Support what?
Comment.
Comment, you mean the communication? Sorry, now I don't get it.
Oh, so later maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Any other questions of this application? Yeah?
Would we have to add validation from the email input?
No.
On the form?
No, you can just I can actually think I can show it for you. So if you go to the member view, we have the field here, email field. We can just email.add a validator, and I think that we have actually something built in here. So let's see if there is email validator, so we can use it. Just so error. And now this should actually add a validator. Let's see if it's actually working. Let's edit, for example, the first one here. It's still loading the changes. Let's see what happens. It's working. So it's saying the error message I defined. So
Is it server side or client side?
it's server side. So let's see if it's now. It should be able to save the changes to. Yeah. So as you can see, it was actually one line of code. Yes?
Would it be easy to externalize all the strings and put it in some
Yeah, it's because this is server-side code I have written here, so you can use all the tools available in server-side. So you can just use some standard Java stuff.
So the Vaadin doesn't have some specific tools, IDs, etc.
No, we currently don't have any stuff for the localization stuff. So you can just use standard resource bundle or something like that to do the localization. And because this is server-side stuff, it's actually very easy to use those tools, standard tools.
Can you show the HTML code out of the, let's say, the form? How code was generated?
Yeah, sure.
Is the table because of this form layout, or?
Yes, I think so. We can actually try to change the layout to back to the vertical layout. Then I think it's just not table, vertical. Let's see. Okay, now it's a vertical layout, and now it's only div elements. That's enough. Okay, more questions about the application? If no, then I think we can.
When you change the color of this header,
Yeah.
can you inspect the header?
Yeah, sure.
There is a class div-label-h1. Can you style?
Yeah. I can also say you are correct. I can also say like this. If you mean that. Yeah, and I think it's the result is same. So
So you can switch those and stuff, or this is
the reason is that there is many selectors available. There is the v-label, and then the H1. What was the case I was using? So it was saying that I want to select a component that has the v-label, and
CSS feature, not
yeah, exactly, standard CSS stuff.
I have one question.
Mm.
You said that presentation is generated as a JavaScript.
Yeah.
What is on the server side?
What is on the server side?
Yeah. Is that some
This code I have written here is only server-side code.
okay, but your JavaScript code has to talk with some, I don't know, servlet or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah, Vaadin handles that for you. You don't need to worry about it if you are.
Yeah, but it might be very interesting, you know, in just good cases when everything works correctly, you don't care about it. But if you will meet some problems, you have some bugs and I don't know errors. It might be useful to know how it works. For example, if can you open member registration UI user interface?
This one? Yeah.
For just example, if UI which you are extending is, for example, extending some servlet, it might be useful to know because maybe you should not use object fields and so on and so on. I'm just asking what objects are hidden inside.
I'm not sure what you are exactly asking, but basically Vaadin is just a servlet, normal standard servlet, and then there's Vaadin handles the communication between the client side and the server side. And these classes here are just server side stuff. So you can use any tools available in the server side if you are asking about that.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. So I think I have still a few slides remaining, so let's continue with the presentation. Okay, so that was the example application. Then something about Vaadin 7, which will be the new. It's still in the beta phase, and we were using this Vaadin 7 in the previous example. So some highlights of the new stuff in Vaadin 7. I think this is useful information even you haven't used Vaadin 6 before. So we want to improve the view management stuff. So we have that view management API, the navigator I was using in the example. Also, we support multi-tab applications by default, which means that in Vaadin 6 it was a bit problematic to support multi-tab applications. So let's say that I have this tab open here, but then I open to the another tab with the same address. So I'm opening the same application, and then I'm doing something in the new tab, and then I go back to the previous tab and I try to do something there. I got an out of sync. The reason is that Vaadin 6 is not supporting multi-tab application out of box. You can support multi-tab application in Vaadin 6 by overriding some methods to fix the problem, but in Vaadin 7 this works out of box without doing any stuff. So also one problem in Vaadin 6 was the layout performance. If we have a lot of nested layouts, the reason for this is that in Vaadin 6 all the size calculations were done with pixel values, so the framework was not rusting to the layouting done by the browser. The reason for this is that the Vaadin 6 supports IE6 and IE7, but now in Vaadin 7 we actually drop support for IE6 and IE7, and we can remove those pixel stuff, and the layout performance will be much more better. Also, CSS borders and margins were a bit problematic with Vaadin 6, but now in Vaadin 7 you can use also those. We also provide built-in support for CSS abstraction language called SAS. I don't know if it's familiar for you, but we have our own Java implementation of this. And the advantage is that you can use, for example, variables in your CSS. So when you are doing the styling, and then you need later change to some color, and if you are using the variables, it will be very easy. You can just change one value instead of going through the whole CSS to see the correct places to change the value. And the idea is that there is the tool that generates these SCSS files to normal CSS files when it's run on browser. And this is built in Vaadin 7, and there is of course much more different things also available in SAS. We also provide some helpers for easily integrate JavaScript API. So you can actually create a callbacks in the server side, and we also provide some resource loading for JS and CSS. And here I have an example of this JavaScript integration. So this published one here is server-side code. So we can define the name of the JavaScript function, and then we have the callback method here. which will be called when I say this use in the JavaScript in your browser. So if you have some external JavaScript stuff, so you have the Vaadin application running, for example, in Portal, so you can say window.myCallback, and you can even pass a parameters for the server-side callback. And when I call this, it will actually call this callback method on the server side in Vaadin. We also improved the client-server communication. This is important when you create your own custom widgets or you do some client-side stuff with Vaadin. We also provide easier way to integrate normal JavaScript widgets into Vaadin, and in this case you don't need even recompile the widget set. We also provide the data binding stuff you already saw. I was using that field group. In Vaadin 6 it was the form component that was doing the layouting and the binding, but usually you want to lay out the components freely in the freeway. We have also some converters, support for two-phase commit, and we also support the bean validation stuff in core Vaadin 7. And we also want to clean up the client-side stuff. So currently, you cannot actually use the client-side button without the server-side class because there is so much decoupling between those components. But we are going to improve this so that you can actually use the Vaadin, the client-side part of the Vaadin button, for example, in your GWT application, or for example, Vaadin table, the client-side part of it. But it's not yet done, but it will happen in future.